We owe it all to Andy Warhol and to Anita Bryant.
Hello, and welcome to the Tour Project. I'm Project Manager Eric Solomon. For this stop on the tour, navigate to 781 Peachtree Street Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30308. This is the site of St. Mark United Methodist Church. Richard Eldridge writes of the bond between St. Mark Methodist and Atlanta's LGBTQIA+ community in a 2020 article for Atlanta Magazine. Eldridge writes, in a time when the global Methodist Church is still wrangling with anti-gay doctrine written into its Book of Discipline, Midtown's Atlanta's St. Mark UMC may offer a blueprint for the future. For nearly 30 years, St. Mark has exemplified progression and inclusion, embracing Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community and hiring gay clergy. This stop on the tour also features the former site of Atlanta's First Baptist Church. Martin Sinderman wrote for the Atlanta Business Chronicle in 2001 of the fascinating evolution of the location of First Baptist Church. First established in 1847. Sinderman writes this of the home of First Baptist Church in Midtown from 1930 to roughly 1988. First Baptist Church property sold screamed the one-inch headline of the February 2, 1928 edition of the Atlanta Journal. In a deal negotiated by Adams Cates Company, First Baptist sold its Peachtree Cane site to Peters Land Company in one of the largest and most important real estate deals of recent years, for properties in cash totaling more than $1,250,000, according to the news story. In return for the First Baptist site, Peters Company paid $325,000 in cash and deeded over a Midtown block bound by Peachtree, 4th, 5th, and Cypress Streets. The church constructed a new home on this site, moving there in 1930. It took nearly 60 years, but First Baptist again got the urge to move north in October of 1988. In 1986, the former pastor of First Baptist Church, Charles Stanley, who retired in 2020, uttered controversial comments about AIDS. Protesters demonstrated against Charles Stanley's remarks on February 9, 1986. As one newspaper headline read, "Gays marched Sunday morning to protest First Baptist Church Dr. Charles Stanley's recent remarks concerning AIDS and homosexuals." In this stop on the tour, Dave Hayward recalls that protest, which included PFLAG and PFLAG leader Judy Kolbs. Here's Dave Hayward.
Okay, and then we go to St. Mark United Methodist Church, which is still there at Peachtree and 5th Street. One of the things that's interesting, too, about the evolution of Atlanta is that St. Mark United Methodist Church became a primarily LGBT welcoming congregation. I'm not sure if he's still the minister there, but Josh Noblet was one of the assistant ministers there, who's an openly gay man and gay activist, and one of the people who's the leaders of the LGBTQ community. And one of the things that I remember especially about St. Mark is that, we would always have the pride marches, and we would march down Peachtree Street to 10th Street to Piedmont Park. And one of the things that really changed was when we're in the parade, the Pride March, and we would get to St. Mark, and the congregation would welcome us and ply us with food and drink, with water as we were marching, which didn't happen before. And right across the street from St. Mark was the First Baptist Church. So that was interesting juxtaposition immediately across the street, and the First Baptist Church has long been demolished, torn down. But they were like complete opposites. So they were St. Mark United Methodist Church and the First Baptist Church, and their Reverend Charles Stanley preached in 1986 that AIDS was God's judgment against sinners. So in 1986, we had a silent protest where we encircled the church and did this humongous circle all around the church of a silent protest of that. That was one of the markers too about AIDS, is that whereas previous to AIDS, it could be possible to be totally closeted and to lead a double life or whatever. AIDS really blew a lot of that up because it was like it really brought the LGBT community, especially gay male community, out in the forefront. And all of a sudden, a lot of people realized, oh, I do know some people who were gay. It's like some of these people were dealing with AIDS, and it really brought the whole issue out into the open. Our story really out into the open in a very painful way, but ultimately in a helpful way, because we ended up being part of the larger conversation, the larger community, and people realizing that, yes, I do know LGBTQ people. But what I remember especially about that protest at the First Baptist Church was we were joined by parents and friends and families of lesbians and gays, PFLAG, and it was led by our amazing ally, Judy Kolbs, who passed away in January of 2021. And it was one of the times that PFLAG really got actively involved. And a lot of that was under the direction of Judy Kolbs. Because a lot of times PFLAG would be more of the support groups, and people would come to the meetings, and they would come to deal with, their loved ones being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. And Judy made it so that they were a lot more politically active and involved. And so she came to the demonstration with other people from PFLAG. And there was one woman in particular, a PFLAG mother, Joanne Medley, who came to the demonstration and was reticent about it because for a lot of the PFLAG folks, for example, it was the first time they had actually done anything political, anything active. And so Judy had reassured Joanne that she did not need to worry about being on television because there would be hundreds and hundreds of people there. And then Joanne ended up being interviewed on all 3 TV networks. But of course, Joanne could have said, I don't want to talk. I don't want to be interviewed. But that was a real turning point in terms of speaking out against the discrimination. And I think that really made it so that a lot of the discrimination that was possible previous to AIDS, a lot of that went away or receded or went underground, whatever you want to say. That we were not going to stand for people from the pulpit saying AIDS was God's judgment against sinners, And the First Baptist Church, they tore the building down and moved to the suburbs, thank God.
Thank you for joining us on this stop of the Tour Project. For more information, visit tourqueeratlanta.org. That's TUOR queeratlanta.org.